MMA Oddsbreaker, I'm Frank Trigg. This week, Marcus Sursa getting ready to fight Muhammad Lawal coming up on Bellator, September 5th. Marcus, you weren't the original opponent for Muhammad. What happened?
From what I know, Tom DeBlaus had a knee injury, and they needed a replacement. And this is something that's been, 14 years in the making, coming from, a lot of since 1999. Had my very first professional fight, to now. Had one chance, with Eddie Sanchez. Fought him in Bellator, knocked him out. Think it was a bad call from the referee. Didn't stop the fight. Kind of punched myself out in the second round. Third round, it was bad call on the ref. Stopped the fight. I didn't tap out. The ref stopped it. So I felt it was a bad call from the ref. And I was supposed to get my chance back into Bellator. Just so happens now it's fate is fate. I think it's perfect timing.
Well, that goes back to 2010 with Eddie
Right.
Sanchez. And then you go on a pretty good fight winning streak. You go on 3 fights right after that, and then you have a loss to Nate James. But of course, you're now out of Bellator. It's kind of a weird situation. Like Bellator doesn't really ever have you back, which doesn't make any sense.
Well, you say lost to Nate James, though, and I'd like to comment on that. I felt like I was robbed on that decision with Nate James. But Nate James is a tough guy, and he went on to do great things for Strikeforce. But you look at my record, and I fought nothing but monsters and tough guys my whole career. Just fought Randy Blake, world champion kickboxer, for 5 rounds into a decision. Oh. I felt like he did some illegal blows in the fight. He did an illegal knee. He kneed me in the groin 5 times. The fight was stopped 3 times with no penalty points awarded to him. I knocked him down in the second round. They said it was to the back of the head. I mean, it is what it is. The fight's over. I can't take what the referee does. It's out of my control. But I feel like Bellator has great reps. They have great people behind them. All the decisions and everything are fair. So I'm excited about 15 minutes with King Mo. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting 15 minutes in the whole series, and it's going to be heard around the world.
Now Marcus, I got to ask you. It seems like you're trying to explain away the Eddie Sanchez loss. You're explaining away the Nate Jones loss. You're explaining the way that the 5 rounds of TKO lost. It's the ref's fault. So now you're looking at 3 of your losses out of the 8 that you have are referees' faults. So
right.
Is that the generalization of all your fights you didn't lose, you just ran out of time, or is it just those 3 happen to be the ones that you kind of got screwed in?
No, and hey, Trevor Prangley, I fought him for the Shark Fights title. That guy's a monster. That dude's tough. He came out. I kind of fought him at a time when I really was looking up to him as a fighter, looking up to him as a mentor. I trained with him at AKA, so I knew how tough of a fight coming into that fight was. I had a great camp, and, Trevor beat me. That was a tough fight. My loss to Elliot Marshall was, a loss to a choke, and that was in Broomfield. High altitude, he kind of had the advantage on me there. He's a tough kid. Lost to Josh Bryant. Josh Bryant. That was a hometown thing. And I at least knocked out 5 of his buddies in the crowd with my dad at the end of that one. And we got out of there safe. And that was an intense moment. But yeah, I've had some great wins and I've had some great losses. And I think when, September 5th, people are going to really find out who Marcus Sursa really is, how tough I really am, and how much heart I have. This is like the Rocky moment,
Now, when your manager got the phone call, what was the phone call like? Him going, "Hey, look, you're going to fight King Mo now. There's been a replacement." Like, how did that conversation go between you and your manager? And what did he say Bellator's conversation was with him?
Well, we had a game plan after Glory. I just fought in Glory in Denver and had a 3-round decision with a guy who's a hometown kid. And Danny Mitchell, kid's undefeated. He's tough. He's, an awesome guy. He beat me with the 3-round decision. He was more active than I was. I learned a lot from that fight. I went back and to the drawing board, had an MMA fight. We started talking about, hey, kickboxing's great. You're getting the reason I went to kickboxing is because I couldn't get fights in MMA. I was having people looking at my record and stuff and dodging me and not taking fights, man. So I was inactive for 6-7 months. I couldn't even get a fight. So then I got these kickboxing opportunities, and I said, why not? Kickboxing's hot right now. Let's go and blow it up. And they gave me a undefeated guy, and then Danny Mitchell, and then world champion Randy Blake back to back. I mean, I went down and did, I fought hard, had decisions in both fights, and I've learned a lot in those fights. And I feel like those fights are going to be a very vital role coming into this fight with King Mo, on the feet, combinations, being busy, staying in his face. I ain't running from King Mo. So we're going to see two bulls collide into the cage, and who has the most heart,
How long have you been with All-Star MMA Management? How long have you been underneath their tutelage?
First of all, I met this guy early in Oklahoma. He's a great guy. Want to give all the props to him for helping me out. Reed Cook is a good guy. But I also want to give props to my true manager, is Train, DC Management. He's managed me for a long time. And, I had my first manager was Evan Tanner. And, he managed a lot of stuff for me back in the day. Trained with him, Heath Herring, Ali Elias, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Ali. A lot about Coach Ali. And that was my wrestling coach, man. And I know a lot about you. I've seen you guys fight in the USWF in Amarillo, Texas live, man. And you knocked him out with a knee to the head. And, dude, those moments growing up, man, and it's –
Ali was my first tournament win. It was back in the day when you didn't fight anything else but tournaments. It was like 4 fights a night. And
bare
Ali
knuckles.
was my first victory. He was undefeated. It was like 32-0 when I fought him, and I got lucky to meet him in the face. I got lucky. It was late too. It was late in the round, and he was a wrestler, so he had the same heat that I had. And that kid just kept coming. It was that was a tough one. I remember that one well. And of course, Evan was the president of USWF when I was competing. So yeah, it's old school, but it's been a while. I thought for sure that your name would have been brought up a lot sooner to come into the weight class, especially when Bjorn Remney was kind of on the outs. They weren't really sure what was going to happen with him. Kind of the hammer's coming down. I thought he was going to revamp the weight class and try to bring you in, and now Coker's over there. Do you notice a difference from when you were there before and fought as to when you're fighting now, how Bellator has been treating you and the inner workings? Because now the big thing with everyone over Bellator, from the fighting standpoint, all the fighters are saying it's completely different now with Coker in charge. It's a lot more friendly. They're taking better care of us. They're actually listening to our wants and to our needs as opposed to just kind of blowing stuff off. Do you notice the same thing too?
Well, with them, they've always been awesome with us and treated us like kings, man. The only thing is I kind of had a problem with was they said they were going to give me an opportunity. There was a thing with my manager that they had ins and outs, and then I didn't get my opportunity, which I was upset about, but that was something I couldn't control, you know what I mean? So it's been a lot of years, and like I say, I thought I would be back here way, 2-3 years before, but, just didn't happen. I had to stay with the grind, and, I just had a little kid, Orion, my little son, Orion Hunter Sursa, and he's going to be famous, man, and things that happen, and I don't know why they happen and the reason for them, but it's like everything happened at the perfect timing. And I have a big announcement after I knock King Mo out, and it's going to shock the world. And then, it's what happens from here is just,
So you have an announcement you're going to give out after you knock out King Mo. Well, what's the announcement?
I can't tell you guys right now. It's going to have to happen. I got a shirt, and it's going to be on the shirt, and it's going to make some waves, and that's all I can really say about it right at the moment. But this is the Rocky moment. This is Rocky. This is my Rocky moment, and it's unbelievable, man. It's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Marcus Sursa getting ready to fight King Muhammad Lawal coming up here in Bellator MMA on September 5th in Connecticut. Marcus, I appreciate you coming on here. I knew it was tough trying to get a hold of you and try and get our schedules put together. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here at MMA Oddsbreaker. Good luck. We'll talk to you shortly after the fight, especially once we find out what that announcement is.
All right, Frank. Hey, man, it's a pleasure to finally get to do an interview with you, man. And I look up to you. You're a legend in the sport. And, man, what you've done and all the things you've done for us is such a blessing. And hopefully have more interviews with you and talk to you and tell you about that announcement after it's over, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Marcus. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Frank. Thanks, brother.